Generational cycles, hereditary traits like alcoholism, abuse, epigenetics, transgenerational or intergenerational trauma. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about the painful realization that there are cataclysmic events in the life of people who get passed along generation to generation. In my family, alcohol was passed from father to son as far back as I know. My father was an alcoholic, and he would tell me about his own father and how much of an alcoholic his father was. And he would describe behavior like receiving his paycheck, my grandfather receiving his paycheck and spending it at the bar, or losing it at the bar before getting home that very day. My father found that appalling, and he said that he was ashamed of his own father for being an alcoholic. And I remember late in his life having this conversation, and I was telling him, but Dad, you are a lot like that. And he wouldn't deny it. Just by the time we had this conversation, a few days earlier, he had slept in the bathtub because he was drunk. And he fell in the bathroom backwards and fell in the bathtub, and he just slept there. He told me that he had waken up in the bathtub, and he didn't see that as the behavior of an alcoholic. He was, in his eyes, an alcoholic. I haven't been an alcoholic. Maybe I had drunk a little bit too much in a few occasions, but I still drink a little bit of wine. But like right now, I stretch a bottle of wine to 2 weeks. So for me, there's slowing down this generational wheel, this carousel, this repeating cycle. My son doesn't drink at all, so maybe we have slowed down that. We have found, we haven't pursued the way of ultimately escaping the self through abusing our own bodies. And then perhaps the saddest of all, the most painful of all cycles, the abuser cycle, traumatizer cycle. How hard it is to escape intergenerational trauma, how hard it is not to repeat the same patterns of abuse. So let's celebrate anyone who makes progress on that front, anyone who has managed to be less abusive than his or her parents were. That takes a lot of strength, a lot of determination, a lot of energy. People throw around the term epigenetics, and epigenetics meaning epi, beyond genetics, the hereditary traits that are beyond the genetics of the DNA, but that somehow are there biologically or in the womb. They are acquired during the growth in the womb as a fetus. Like other things I'm saying, I'm calling for having awareness of this and for seeing our own baggage and our own risks we have because our family constellation, and then celebrating any progress, any ability not to repeat, to ameliorate that heredity. But do not take it lightly. My heart goes to anyone who has suffered abuse. And I hope they find the strength not to fall back into the cycle. Same for alcoholics, drug, people who abuse their body in any way or form, the body and mind with substance. People who abuse their bodies and minds with substances. It's a tough lot for many. But do not despair. Be aware. The tide might be very strong, but tides come and go. Be aware. Do not take lightly your own heredity and that of others. If a person has been abused, as I learned the hard way, you're going to be the wrong person at the wrong time, in the wrong place, no matter what you do. And that is so drastic, so extreme to say, but better be aware and have that attitude than be surprised when you find yourself being the wrong person at the wrong time in the wrong place because you were there for an abused person. Be there for an abused person, but also be so aware that this is a different situation. An abused person may have suffered basic changes to the brain where there are faulty fire alarms. This person may sound an alarm when there's nothing to be concerned about, or may cruise through a fire without sounding an alarm. An abused person may have an unmanned watchtower and not realize when they are getting into a situation where somebody's going to take advantage of them. But then the wind is blowing, the sun is coming to the end of another arch through the sky. Flowers are being shed by this tree in front of me. Rain is gonna come back. Fireflies might be gone forever here, but they still exist. There is joy. Breathe joy in, breathe joy out.